Sammie Lee Bush Jr., born March 1st, 1987. Today's feature is a part of an era like none other and one you rarely see anymore, the child star era, where advanced near preteens imitated adults with nursery rhymes about puppy love and the struggles of being young but ready for the world. The music industry and its fans were highly entertained by this from the 90s and early 2000s, as every other month there was one attempting to break through. Sammie was one of those adolescent, inspiring entertainers that got his start at just 10 years old and was met with musical open arms by the industry because he had a few things in his favor. He could sing, of course, far beyond his years and having to take lessons, and he was comfortable in the camera's eyes and on stage in the public, where his mostly teenage girl fans flocked to get a glimpse of the superstar in the making do his thing. It can take most people a lifetime to just figure out their purpose in life, but for few like Sammie, everyone could see literally since day one he was meant to be a musical artist and even a potential superstar. Although at the tail end of the perfect era for his unique opportunity, he still caught it and released his first album from the top to the bottom March 2000 after turning 13 years old just a few weeks prior. The album eventually went gold and had two successful singles, Crazy Things I Do, that was a top 40 R&B song, and the smash hit and Sammie's most successful song ever, I Like It, that went gold by itself, shot to 8th on the Billboard R&B charts, and top 25 in the US regardless of genre. A classic teeny bop song, Sammie is still able to perform to this day, and his fans can still recite word for word. It's well understood that not every artist that attempts to get into the entertainment industry can, and not all that do become something special and stand above the rest. But Sammie definitely had the potential and opportunity much before many not named Lil Bow Wow or Lil Romeo. Even the self-proclaimed best rapper alive Soulja Boy, aka Big Draco, aka the first rapper to do just about anything, hadn't gotten his big break until 16-17 years old. After his debut, Sammie was well on his way to being the next big thing in R&B, but had a small window to do so, seeing as the 2000s was a second golden era for a slowing down R&B genre. And then, for a while, he just disappeared. He came back to what became legendary R&B artist speeding all through his lane.
Yeah, that boy could sing. Everybody know that. Sammie, Mario, all the young niggas that was singing like.
And an uphill battle to regain position as a star untimely left behind. What really happened to Sammie? Salute to Florida's finest 05 for this request. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Sammie is a singer, songwriter from Miami, Florida that since he can remember, he's been honing his singing skills, first in his church choir, then in a 3-boy group with local friends who in '98 as a group actually sent an audition tape to Showtime at the Apollo, a variety show that showcased talent from all walks of life with a reputation for being one of the toughest and most honest venues to perform at the time. Having success there could mean an immediate career start, just as an on-stage failure can crush a career before it even begins. After the demo was sent in, the production team replied that they only wanted the youngest one, which was Sammie, who was just 10 years old at the time, instead of the group. Nervous, he stepped on stage, rubbed the wood for good luck.
Pause, bro. Hey, this story's great, but it's just started getting a little out of hand.
And performed a rendition of My Sherry Amore by Stevie Wonder and won the competition. It led to him signing a record deal in 1999 with Capitol Records after just turning 12 years old. Stunt number 1, an untimely hiatus. For the teeny bop music industry star, there's a lot of issues they face on top of the same every other musician does, especially in urban music. The race to remain relevant for long enough to make as much money as possible and to build a legacy that can stand on its own for whatever reason you do take time away. For a musician like Sammie, being the age he was, he faced many changes over the upcoming years of his life that enough time away only means he returns basically a new artist who whose voice inevitably changes and is much different than what his fans fell in love with. His look follows suit, competition arriving as the music business is always looking for new talent to make them new money, era changing from the kind of R&B he made, or his fans grow to an age they're no longer hooked on the music Sammie has to offer. There's many changes that will happen with a child star. Everything you've worked for can be gone just as fast or faster than you got it. Being 13 years old in 2000 when his debut album dropped, Sammie and his family had a serious decision to make. Allow him to continue chasing what it took to stay at the top in his profession, or build a solid foundation using education as a fallback plan, just in case for whatever reason he later loses interest in being a musician. For Sammie, he wanted to continue doing music and continue being there for his fans, as what kid wouldn't want to be in the limelight at that age, where school wasn't as important, girls literally chasing after you, and being able to travel the world and take care of your family. But his parents feared he would be better off at least getting his high school diploma. That way, he'd be more equipped to move in a room of vultures, aka the music industry. So, for the next 6 years, Sammie disappeared from music and the distraction it became at school, where security followed him to class and all the kids made him feel out of place for being there with them when they can go home and watch him on TV. His last song was Hardball with all the lils in the game before he completely faded to the back. In that time, he lost his deal with Capitol Records and most his fans, returning in 2006 with a new album that didn't perform like his previous as pretty much a new artist. He'd never reached that same height again. Stunt number 2, managerial betrayal. After high school, Sammie's mom wanted him to continue his education into college, but now free and able to make his own decisions, Sammie couldn't wait to get back to the music. Of course, he knew it would be difficult to win those fans back he lost to other artists or who have grown up and past being a fan by then, but what he didn't know is that the manager he knew since 12 years old, who had moved Sammie in with him down in Atlanta and co-signed for Sammie's new Benz, would make matters worse and much more difficult by stealing pretty much all the money left in Sammie's account that he managed and had access to. He actually gave Sammie an ultimatum that if you don't continue working with me, you'll never see this money again. Sammie decided he wasn't going to sell his soul for fame and money, giving this guy what he wants, when how can you ever trust a guy like that again and work together? Sammie said no thank you and continued down the struggle independent route until he dropped a freestyle on Instagram, which was picked up by the Shade Room and led to a new deal. But this time he'd keep his independence and only partner with Empire to drop his next projects Coming of Age in 2017 and Everlasting 2019. Because of what his former manager did, he also lost a potential deal with Interscope, who was very interested in the singer, but not the baggage of drama he came with, still dealing with the ex-manager taking off with his money. Stunt number 3, stepped away again. Call it poor work ethic, lack of interest, lack of support, bad management, being cooled off, or whatever seems fit, but in the end, there was simply not enough music being put out by Sammie to rebuild what he had going on before he was even a teenager. After his return in 2006 and him going through all he did with his former manager, Sammie took another overdone hiatus from releasing serious studio albums and not mixtapes and EPs for the next 10 years. In 2017, Coming of Age, his album came out, and by then Sammie was 30 years old and far removed from being the young star with so much potential. To say he was even an afterthought in R&B by then would still be false, as you'd have to go far out your way to find Sammie's music from 2006 to 2017. The 2 projects he put out with Empire made little noise and didn't come close to charting or producing even a single hit. No question, Sammie still could sing, as he did release loose singles here and there, also continued performing basically his pre-hiatus catalog, and going on what I call Don't Forget About Me tours like the Millennium Tour, with artists many forgot about, still trying to capitalize off old hits and a few fans that still remember the words. Had it not been for such a long break, Sammie may have salvaged his career back in 2006, but what he didn't need was another step away from the game that took over 10 years. All in all, it's sad to see such a great, natural singer who seems like a really solid person be taken advantage of and preyed on by some no-named manager who couldn't make much of himself, but much of what happened to Sammie's music career is also on him to have sat back and waited so long to regain footing. He had all the opportunity in the world to be a star, but for these reasons, he was left behind and his growth was stunted. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.